Hello and welcome back to Hoi 4 Equestria or the Realm of Kirin under Rainshine, and hopefully in today's episode we'll get to press the play button. But before that, we've learned about ourselves enough. Now let's learn about our breakaway states some. We'll start with Blossom. We've already heard that it's the best. That's the only trading city really left down here, and it's really the place that's doing best and making this one the most prosperous of the three southern city-states. Or the three southern nations, but this one, the city-state of Blossom, has long stood at a dangerous yet influential crossroad in Kiria, caught between the unified realm of Kiria and the squabbling city-states of Kiria. Blossom has long had to play off of the strengths and weaknesses of its neighbors to survive. Before the divine gaze of the Kirin matriarch superior turned her attention to the south, Blossom engaged in an endless series of proxy wars and regional conflicts with the biggest rival, the city-state of Lotus. Okay, so that's their capital now, to the south of the Kiria region. But as the Way of Fire unified the northern Kiria realm and began to spread southwards, Blossom found itself as the first target of the expanding Kirin hegemony over the south. As the religion of the north began to permeate the city and its society at every level, the local leaders of Blossom soon found themselves unable to withstand the growing influence of the north in their dominion, and soon were forced to swear fealty to the matriarch superior of Kiria, lest the city collapse into the open revolt fueled by the religion of the Way of Fire. Blossom found itself established as the Vermilion Realm's power base in the south, as the capital of the commandery of Kiria, from where it could continue to exert its influence and authority over the region. Temples to the fire goddess Concord replaced any and all shrines to previous gods and deities, and a powerful clergy soon found itself vying for the control of the city with its old leaders. As the years went on, the Kirin of Blossom soon started seeing themselves as the Kirin of the Vermilion Realm, and had the science not severed all imperial influence of the region, the full annexation of the city into the realm may very well have happened. When the science destroyed the authority and the influence of the matriarch superior of Kiria, Blossom found itself in a crisis of identity. Many Kirin in the city believed that, as a bastion of the matriarch's influence in the south, they should abide by the decrees of silence and follow the example of their northern brethren. The Kirin who had long hoped for independence from the north, however, saw this as an opportunity to once more establish the dominance of Blossom in Kiria. The internal divisions within the city left it weak and ill-prepared to resist the advances of the other Kirin city-states. And it was not long before Cinder Tempest, yep, that is the current leader, a warlord from the city-state of Lotus, stormed Blossom's walls and sacked the city. Instead of the silence affording Blossom a chance to rise into renewed glory, it only brought about the ruination of the northmost city-state, and it forced to swear fealty to a master for a second time, this time from the south. Its populace humiliated, its valuables looted, it would be a long time before another opportunity to reclaim its former glory would come to the city-state. Nowadays, however, the authority of the Kirin kings in Lotus is waning, and whispers of independence are once more beginning to travel along Blossom's streets. But a resurgence of the realm of Kiria to the north also poses a new risk to the once proud city-state. Yet again, Blossom finds itself at a crossroad, its future uncertain, and the Kirin in the streets holding their breath as they watch the situation around them develop. So judging by that, I'm hoping that once this has gone hit, there's a path to keep things established and a path to do an independence revolt. And we have a claim on just that province. Citadel of Lotus Crown. At the center of the Kirin city stands the Citadel of Lotus, an ancient structure maintained for centuries as a fortress monastery for the priests of the Southern Way. At its center lies the Shrine of Flaming Lotus, a small altar with a jade box said to contain a perpetually burning lotus blossom, proof of Concord's divine will. From this sacred place, the monastery expanded outwards, with other temples built around the central shrine, followed by walls to protect it all. To protect the monastery and the spark housed within, the wood and earth architecture of the fortress and its walls were supplemented by fortified stone baileys and citadels surrounded by open fields, meticulously cultivated to be pleasure gardens in peacetime that could be raised and prepared to become deadly killing fields during a siege. Moats were also carved to provide water to the inner sanctum and to provide another line of defense. Soon the complex outgrew its first ring of defense, and another layer had to be built. This would repeat a total of 3 times, with each ring of fortification representing another age of the city's history. In accordance with the divine will of Concord, these sacred rings were built to resemble the petals of the lotus flower, showing that the burning blossom would always be the city's sacred heart. While the Kirin in the north were eventually able to unify under the teachings of the Way of the Fire, the various city-states of the Kiria remained fractured and hostile towards each other for a far longer time. Even as the religion of Concord began to permeate into the south of these city-states, the city of Lotus and Blossom were 2 of the strongest, and often utilized the smaller city-states between them to engage in religion proxy wars, to prevent the other from growing too sharply in power and influence. This age of warring states was soon put on hold around 800 ALB, when the influence of the Vermilion dynasty managed to effectively assert itself over the Kirin city-states and warlords in the region of southern Kiria, bringing these Kirin into the fold as semi-autonomous protectorates under the jurisdiction of the divine matriarch superior in Vermilion. Given enough time, Kiria would have been absorbed into the Kirin realm proper, with Lotus being the last holdout in the region. But the abrupt arrival of the silence brought about by rapid modernization of the Vermilion realm served the matriarch's influence in the region. Without the unifying force of the Vermilion realm's influence to hold them together, the city-states of Kiria once again split apart into violent rivalries and fighting. Lotus found itself in particular situation following the establishment of the science in the Northern Realm. A large port of Kirin intellectuals and capitalists fled to the city from the matriarch's realm, trying to find a new home among Kirin lands that was free of the oppressive policies of the Silence. This core group of educated Kirin became just the tool that Lotus warlord Cinder Tempest would need to expand and solidify his power over Lotus and Kiria as a whole. Occupying the citadel of the Lotus Crown as his headquarters and assimilating these educated Kirin into its crown, Cinder Tempest embarked on a long campaign of conquest that marched northwards, subjugating each of the Kirin city-states in turn, until he finally sacked and subdued Lotus' long-term rival, Blossom. Cinder Tempest returned to Lotus with the spoils of his conquest of Blossom, and declared himself king of Sinkin and bearer of the Lotus Crown. Lotus became the capital of his new kingdom, and to celebrate his achievements, Cinder subverted the beliefs of the Southern Way of Fire and declared himself as a divine ruler akin to the matriarch superior in the north. With his divine authority firmly established, Cinder used the Southern Way as a tool to maintain social control over his new realm, preventing it from falling apart after his death. Nowadays, Lotus remains the seat of the Kingdom of Sinkin, though its influence and authority over the rest of the region is beginning to wane as the city-states once again agitate for independence. With the silence ending in northern Kiria and the realm of Kiria waking from its slumber, the bearer of the Lotus Crown will have to tread carefully to maintain Lotus' superiority or supremacy over the rest of Kiria and its own independence from a resurgent Vermilion realm. Metropolises on the Mekong. In the dark days before the Kirin unification under the Way of Fire and the Matriarch Superior, Kiria was a land of anarchy, warfare, and devastation. Regional warlords and petty tyrants ruled over a myriad of incestuous warring fiefdoms through terror and violence. It was away from this landscape of fear and tears that a steady trickle of Kirin peasantry made their way south to the Zakirian frontier, a sparsely populated, untamed land, yet untouched by the Nikir warlordism that ravaged Kiria. It was on the northern bank of the Mekong River that the furthest Kirin settlements in the South Kiria Majapur was founded during the beginning of the 6th century. Refugees from Kiria proper had established settlements all throughout the Zakirian interior and coastline, but Majapur's favorable location at the mouth of the Mekong River, its expansive deep-water harbor, and a general consensus among the refugee diaspora that the settlement, situated far away from the chaos of the homeland they had fled in the southernmost reaches of Kiria, was as auspicious a place to put down roots as any, meant that it attracted a significant influx of Kirin immigrants that would only increase as Majapur grew in size. While the Kirin settlements in the territories of what would later become known as Cameron determinedly rejected any form of central government to maintain the sovereignty and independence of each settlement, the informal and hidden forces of trade, commerce, and population exchange meant that Madripoor, making full use of its geographical advantages, was able to dominate the smaller inland politics in economic, cultural, and therefore political terms, while the member settlements of the League of Cameron each retain and maintain their own standing militia armies in accordance with the Treaty of Terramare, thus ensuring a significant degree of local autonomy and self-rule. It is undeniable that Madripoor is the linchpin and mainspring of the League. Madripoor's location also made it the primary site for cross-cultural exchange between the Kirin settlers and the zebra natives of the far south. Even after Kirin unification, Madripoor, far away from Vermilion, escaped the all-encompassing influence of the Way of Fire that would become a permanent defining feature of society and politics in Kirin civilization. The legends of Thunder Tiger, the powerful, incomprehensive, and all too real mystical deity which protects the Golden Temple, would inspire the Kirin Cameron to come to terms with the Neric state by their own means. The Khmeri Kirin interpreted stories of zebra villagers living in vicinity of Golden Temple who, upon encountering would-be looters or tomb raiders, would attack them in a fit of psychotic rage attributed to possession by the Thunder Tiger. To conceive of the Neric state as something caused by spiritual or mystic forces beyond the control of ordinary Kirin. Unlike the Kirin Way of Fire, which stigmatized the Neric state and mandated the ostracization of those who had lapsed, the Kirin sect of Southerly Illumination tolerated those Kirins who had turned Neric, holding that they were not as at fault for losing control of themselves, while maintaining that a Kirin who turned Neric had a moral and civic duty to compensate those among their peers who had suffered injuries as results of their lapse. That's honestly probably a lot better way of dealing with it, but the authority of the doctrine of the sect of Southern Illumination among the Khmeri Kirin meant that it came to serve a similar political, if not a strictly absolutist, role as the Way of Fire in Kiria. As an arbitrator and occasional arbiter in disputes initially relating to lapses in the New York state, but whose remit eventually expanded to encompass matters of civics, commerce, and culture. Although the industrialization of Cameron and the emergence of a new social class of capitalists, business mayors, and traders would eventually peacefully, and over time, put an end to the sect's monopoly on political power, the priests and mystics of the Southern Illumination still constitute a formidable and well-entrenched interest in Madripoor and Khmeri politics today. Madripoor has miles of dockyards, weirs, and shipyards along both banks of the Mekong River, as well as on the shores of the city's deep-water harbor. The headquarters of the Madripoor Merchant Marine are located in the heart of the metropolis, along the bastion of the Lantern, which houses the archives a bureaucracy of the Southern Illumination. The Diet of the Community League is also situated in Madripoor, making it the de facto capital of the League. Although the stately palace in which it is housed, constructed out of wood and stone, is traditionally 8th century Zakiran architectural style, is overshadowed by neighboring modern Neo-Pegasolian edifices housing the head offices of Madripoor and corporate peristances and conglomerates. Significant, too, is the Callidius Penitentiary on the outskirts of the metropolis, a prison and work camp where those who had lapsed in the New York state and were unable to pay the charges levied by the Southerly Illumination for absolution from their transgressions strive to earn their redemption through hard labor. We've done it! We have done it. We have read. We have successfully read. Woo! For now, I think I'm just going to place that at 2. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll throw you there. I said I'd throw you there. Sure, that works for now. Whatever. Okay. Okay, we have awful technology, though I probably should have expected that. I believe going forward, like... Okay, I have no starting event things that I need to read. So now, over halfway through the 3rd episode, we begin. We actually do get to begin the series. I know, it's crazy. We're starting the series today. I wasn't expecting it either. Honestly, I was not going to be surprised if something happened that was like, oh, well, looks like we're not going to start today. We have more lore to find. But, nope, we're going to get to start. Woo! In the Vermilion Realm, begins the All-Kieran Plenin for National Revival. Gains dynastic modifier, the All-Kieran Plenin for National Revival. Stress dynastic bonuses to political power gain, daily harmony support, daily supremacy support, and daily support for unaligned. Right now we're losing a whole bunch of political power, so, yeah. With the ratification of the Hirsith Accords and departure of the Equestrian delegation, it is time for the Matriarch Superior to bring the science to an end in earnest, and allow her realm to focus on modernization and rejoining the global community. A grand assembly of the brightest minds, both within and without Kiria, will serve as the basis upon which to begin our modernization efforts. Woo! Here we go! We're actually starting the game. Alright, time to pause. Daybreak over Vermilion. Matriarch Superior Rainshine set her brush aside and watched as the last of the black ink dried on the flattened scroll of her parchment before her. It had taken her weeks to get to this point, but now for the first time in her 36 years of rule, she had signed an imperial decree that would be read all throughout the realm of Kiria. With that final brushstroke, and with the copies that the scribes would make in the morning and distribute to the far reaches of the country, the Science Muggler's legacy would come to an end after over a century of stagnation and decay. It did not make her happy. If anything, Rainshine felt nervous, wondering if what she was doing was the right thing for her subjects she have never met before. But her thoughts were stolen away from that when a servant entered and announced that Autumn Blaze was waiting to see her, and the mayor in question entered a few moments later, Rainshine's behest. Autumn bowed before our matriarch, though Rainshine keenly noted the awe and reverence the Lesser Kieran offered her at witnessing her regal body, and stood up. "You wish to see me, matriarch?" Autumn asked. "I did," Rainshine said. Her magic lifted a separate scroll off her desk, neatly wrapped in a vermilion ribbon, and passed it to Auburn Blaze, who took it in her own telekinetic grip. "With the science ending, I am bringing together Kieran from all across the realm to discuss how we can rebuild our nation and bring it into the modern age. I'm calling the first All-Kieran Plenum for national revival. As the mayor who was so instrumental in helping the Equestrian delegation reach Vermilion, I want you to be its premier." Autumn Blaze looked shocked at the sudden responsibility, but she nevertheless nodded about again. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that responsibility, matriarch, but if you think so." Rainshine cut her off with a wave of her hoof and a assuring smile. "You do well, Autumn. I know this much." We add Autumn Blaze, and we get rid of some weekly stability loss. Let's go. It's still minus overall. Oh boy. Autumn Blaze was never meant to rise as far as she has in her life. Born the daughter to poor farmers in Massacot. Though originally destined for a life of the same hardships and meager living as her parents, Autumn's family managed to get their daughter residence in a temple to Concord in Massacot at the age of 7, where she studied for 5 years before dropping out and returning to the family farm. In those 5 years, however, Autumn learned how to read and write, how to perform arithmetic, and perhaps most importantly of all, how to study and interpret the teachings of Fire Goddess Concord in religious text. Though she would never use that particular skill in service to the way of fire, Autumn made excellent use of her command over words, as both a sword to attack with and a shield to defend against, allowing her to use it as a tool to carve her own path in life. Though she originally put it towards making musicals, plays, and even thought-provoking comedic dissections on the stagnation of Kieran life under the silence, it would serve her the best in 1006 when the Equestrian delegation to Kiria wandered into Massacot. Being one of the only Kieran in Massacot who knew Equish because of her studies, Autumn was able to guide the Equestrians, 2 ponies named Fluttershy and Applejack, to Vermilion, where they sought to make contact with Kiria's matriarch, Superior Rainshine, and establish diplomatic ties. Because of her efforts, they were successful, and Autumn ultimately formed a close friendship with Rainshine when all was said and done. That friendship led her to become Rainshine's first premier, and now she seeks to guide the All-Kieran Plenum for national revival. As its steadfast and enthusiastic leader, time will tell if she is successful. Well, I hope she is. She's our best hope right now. Let's see. Where do I start? I suppose I'll start with this side, why not? The All-Kieran Plenum for National Revival. The key legislative body of the Grand Gallop onward, the All-Kieran Plenum for National Revival, was convened at Matriarch Superior Rainshine's behest to study the challenges of modernizing Kiria in just a few short years and provide solutions to them. Made up of Kieran from all trots of life, the plenum is a melting pot for all sorts of ideas and a great way for information to dissipate, for better or for worse. Welcome the delegates. Delegates from all across the realm are arriving in Vermilion on a daily basis, bringing with them their own experiences and ideas for how to propel Kiria into the modern era in just a few short years. Many more come from beyond its borders, educated in foreign nations and exposed to their culture. All of their ideas will be useful in rewriting Kiria's future and starting a new chapter for the nation. Yes, of course. A letter from Autumn Blaze. Dear Applejack and Fluttershy, oh, I hope this letter receives you too. It's not like Kiria hasn't had a functional postal system in a century, right? The hoops I had to go through just to send a piece of paper halfway across the world. I got a new job! Matriarchs, I got a new job! Yay! Yay! Okay, that seems more right for the character. Because I remember that this is actually one of my favorite later episodes. I really liked the episode with the Kiria, or the Kieran, for in the show. I mean the actual like My Little Pony show. It's like got some of the best song. Like it's such a good song that this character sings. Autumn Blaze. Autumn Blaze has a great song that I absolutely love. Anyways, get away. We've been doing enough pause, and I don't need to go into talking about My Little Pony the show. Anyways, you remember her, right? The really tall Kieran decided to call Kieran from all across the realm to Vermilion to participate in the All-Kieran Plenum for National Revival, and she made me its premier. Talk about a leap in responsibility, right? I guess the matriarch saw something in me when I helped you two make the last leg of the journey from Massacot to Vermilion. It's a lot to take on, and I'm not sure I'm the best Kieran for the job, but I'll give it my best regardless. But you should see Vermilion now. When you left, it was like a sleepy teenager asking for 5 more minutes of sleep, but now the city is absolutely bustling. I've never seen anything like it before. There's so many Kieran from all over the realm pouring in every day to attend the plenum. And there's this wonderful, colorful feeling of hope and excitement just buzzing through the air. I've spent a lot of time meeting all the delegates I'll be working with during the plenum, and 2 in particular really stuck out. The first is Winterfrost, one of our Way of Fire priestesses from Raspity, who's a bit of a stickler for tradition and knows way more about the fire goddess Concord than I could ever hope to learn. She's bred a whole bunch of priests and had a mystic sent from across the realm to participate in the plenum. And though I never studied our religion too hard, I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about. The other Kieran is a fellow named Fickle Current, who's been living in Griffonia all his life. I didn't even know what Griffonia was until last month, but he's the grandson of some business Kieran who fled the realm when the science started, and he brought a lot of the Kieran dysphoria back with him to start fixing up the homeland. They even arrived at the capital in automobiles imported from Griffonia, which pretty much no Kieran in the capital had ever seen before. To say he made a grand interest would be an understatement, though I think that rubbed Winterfrost and our mystics the wrong way. The 2 of them don't seem like they got off on the right hoof, so to say, but I'm confident with time we'll be able to smooth those issues out at the plenum. After all, we're all working together to better our nations, right? I hope you're doing well. Wish us the best of luck for the plenum, because we're gonna need it. Your friend Premier Autumn Blaze. And we add Fickle Current and Winterfrost. Oh boy, Winterfrost. These 2 don't exist in the show, but born in the mountainous monastery town of Agate, Winterfrost was surrounded with religious and mystic fervor of the Way of the Fire from the moment of her birth. As she grew older, the young Kieran quickly found herself deeply infatuated with the love and divine guidance of the Kieran fire goddess Concord had blessed her people with, and as such, Winter devoted her entire life to understanding Concord teachings and sharing them with the rest of the Kirin species, regularly spending many dark winter mornings in meditation along the highest peaks of the Holy Mountain range that surrounded Vermilion. Winterfrost's devotion was soon rewarded when she was chosen to go to Vermilion and further her service to Concord by serving Matriarch Superior Rainshine herself. As such, Winter became one of the few Kirin who had personally met and interacted with the reclusive matriarch before the science ended, and she became personally devoted and loyal to the matriarch, alongside her fierce devotion to the Way of Fire. Such devotion led to her becoming personally favored by the Kirin matriarch. And by the time the science was officially repealed, Winterfrost was the most influential priestess in Vermilion. As the science gives way to a new era of politics in Vermilion, Winterfrost has become the loudest critic of reckless modernization and provides a solid rock to anchor the concerns of the Kirin religion to, regularly pushing against motions, bills, and decrees that she believes threatens the sanctity of Concord's divine teachings. When the plenum seeks to find new answers to the challenges of modernization, Winterfrost works to bring Kiria back to its roots of firm faith and unyielding devotion to Concord and the Way of Fire, and find the answers to Kiria modernization problems in Concord's teaching. Then we have Fickle Current. Despite his rise to prominence at Kiria, Fickle Current was not born a son of the realm. Rather, he was foaled in Skyfall, where his family had fled the crushing economic collapse that struck hold of Kiria as the science was imposed at the beginning of the 10th century. It was there in Skyfall that the Psyche Trading House, one of the realm's strongest trading conglomerates before the science, had relocated, and the Current family enjoyed close ties to their trading house that left them extremely wealthy. With the wealth that his family possessed, Current was able to afford a prestigious education in Yale, where he was personally tutored by Cypress Snow, another member of the Kirin diaspora, and its foremost literati. Under Snow's guidance, Current learned to sharpen his business acumen and cunning insight that would serve him well as a successful business Kirin, and later the natural fit to represent the business interests of the returning Kirin diaspora during the Grand Gallop onward. It was only late in 1006 when Fickle Current stepped hoof in Fragrance, the city of his ancestors, for the first time as the science began to lift across the realm. Remembering the tales of how ineptitude and superstition in Vermilion once forced his family into exile and nearly impoverished them, Current soon resolved to be a champion for the Kirin who lost everything in Fragrance and do everything he could to truly modernize Kiria according to what he and the rest of the Kirin diaspora knew in Skyfall and throughout Western Graphonia. Unfettered capitalism would be the order of the day, for the wheels of progress in such a backwards land could only be turned with grease of tremendous investment into the realm. If Kiria ever wanted to truly join the modern world as a functional nation, it would take an almost unimaginable level of investment, and so Current has resolved to do everything he can to make the nation as enticing opportunity for the wealthy. And next time we're going to dispatch the envoys, but we're not even going to get to that this time. We have made it from January to February. I think we've made a lot of progress this episode. We've made more progress than any episode up to this point. We've made it a full month. The other episodes, we didn't even make it a single day. So hey, we're getting there. I mean, I'm quite loving this lore so far. This feels like the most lore-filled, like early game lore-filled country yet. I am loving it. You guys know, I love lore so much. So this is the bomb to me. I am absolutely loving this. But anyways, I think I should go ahead and end this episode. If you are also loving all this lore, like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell button to come back and see more. And as always, peace.